I got this comment from one of my viewers, and I want to start this video by reading it word for word, because it's real, it's raw, and I know a lot of people secretly feel the same way. Here's what they said.
I'll keep it simple. I'm in my mid-20s. I want to party and live the life I want. Go out, socialize, meet women, have a good time. Smoke, drink, in moderation. Why can I not do the things I want to do and serve Christ at the same time? I feel bounded by rules and limitations. The world seems to give me more enjoyment and satisfaction. Reading the Bible and praying does not match to the feeling of doing what I want. People say once you have the Holy Spirit, you wouldn't trade him for anything. I've invited the Holy Spirit and tried to have that happen to me over the years, and either he never came into my life, or what I have to offer is better than having him live within me. I don't know. Your channel seems to be the right place to share this. Thanks. Take that in for a moment. You might not have typed those exact words, but have you ever thought them? I have. There was a time I sat in church thinking, why does everyone else seem to be enjoying their sin and I'm sitting here pretending this feels better? There's a version of Christianity that we're often presented with that feels like a prison. Don't do this. Stop doing that. Say no. Cut this off. Give this up. And you're left wondering, where is the joy everyone talks about? Let's be real. Sin feels good for a moment. The Bible never says it doesn't. In fact, Hebrews 11:25 talks about the fleeting pleasures of sin. Fleeting means short-lived. It's like sugar, sweet, exciting, instantly satisfying, but it doesn't nourish you. It gives you a high, then leaves you emptier. But that doesn't make the craving fake. That's why pretending worldly pleasure doesn't exist or isn't enjoyable only pushes people further into hiding. This comment didn't come from rebellion. It came from confusion, from an honest hunger to understand. And if you've been there, torn between wanting to follow Jesus but wondering why it feels like he's asking you to give up everything fun, you need to know you're not weak. You're waking up. You're starting to see the difference between fulfillment and stimulation. The world offers stimulation, fast, loud, exciting, but it rarely delivers fulfillment. Fulfillment is slower, it's deeper, it doesn't scream for attention. That's why Jesus said, "The gate is narrow and the way is hard that leads to life, and few find it." Matthew 7:14. Most people won't choose depth when surface is easier to reach. But here's where it gets really personal. When you say, "Why can't I do what I want and follow Jesus?" you're really asking, why do I have to change to be close to God? And the answer isn't because he's trying to control you. It's because the things we chase to feel alive often end up enslaving us. God isn't anti-pleasure, he's pro-freedom. And a lot of what feels good in the moment silently starts to own you over time. He's not keeping you from life. He's trying to lead you into real life. This isn't about being a better rule follower. It's about discovering a different kind of joy. A joy that doesn't leave you with shame the next morning. A joy that doesn't depend on who texts you back or who hands you a drink. It's the joy of waking up with peace, not performance. And yeah, it may not hit you instantly, but it's real, and it's worth it. So if you're in that place of wondering whether God is truly better, that's not a bad place. That's where the deeper journey starts. Not with pretending to love God more than the world, but with asking him to show you why he's better. Let's stay with the raw honesty for a second. The comment said, "I've invited the Holy Spirit and tried to have that happen to me over the years, and either he never came into my life, or what I have to offer is better than having him live within me." That's not arrogance. That's a cry of disappointment. That's someone who's been told all their life that God is the ultimate satisfaction, and yet when they reach for him, it feels like grabbing smoke. So why does the world feel more real? Why do we feel more alive around flashing lights, loud music, and wild nights than we do in quiet prayer and silence with God? Because our senses are still more trained for earth than for heaven. Let me explain. We live in a world that bombards us with dopamine. Your phone, your feed, your music, your parties, your hookups. Everything is designed to keep your emotions firing and your heart chasing. God, on the other hand, whispers. He speaks through stillness. He doesn't manipulate your senses. He waits for your heart. That's why so many people say, "I tried Christianity, but it didn't work." What we often mean is, it didn't give me what I wanted fast enough. But following Jesus isn't a vending machine experience. It's a death and resurrection journey. That's why Jesus said, "If anyone wants to follow me, let them deny themselves, take up their cross daily, and follow me." Luke 9:23. That word, deny, is hard to hear. But it's not about self-hatred. It's about learning to say no to the things that numb us so we can finally feel what's real. Think about this. When your taste buds are used to junk food, real food tastes bland. But when you detox, your taste changes. You start to crave what's actually good for you. It's the same with your soul. If you've filled your life with fast pleasure, of course God's presence will feel dull at first. You're detoxing, and it's painful. But it's in that detox, when the world loses its hold on you, that you start to feel God's voice again. Not always as a feeling, but as a presence that steadies you in ways no high ever could. And if you've ever asked, why won't the Holy Spirit just overwhelm me? Here's something to consider. The Holy Spirit doesn't force himself where he's not fully welcome. He's not looking for a moment in your schedule. He's looking for surrender. That's why sometimes people feel nothing even after praying a prayer. Because God's goal isn't just to be felt. His goal is to be followed. The question is, are we giving him space to fill? Or are we just asking him to coexist with the things we're not ready to let go of? Everything I'm sharing here is free to help you grow. But if this message is speaking to you and you want to go deeper, or you just want to support the mission of bringing raw, real truth to people who feel stuck between the world and Christ, you can become a channel member. There are two levels, disciple or pillar. It's one small way to say, this journey matters to me. Thank you for being part of it. Let's go even deeper. At the core of that viewer's comment is a craving, not just for pleasure or fun, but for freedom. Why can't I do what I want and still serve Christ? That's a question about liberty. But here's the twist. What most people think is freedom is actually a form of slavery. See, in the world's definition, freedom means no limits. But in God's definition, freedom means no chains. And those two are not the same. Let me explain. You can drink, smoke, hook up, party, chase thrills, and still feel empty. Why? Because freedom without direction always leads to destruction. It's like a ship with no anchor and no compass. It might be exciting for a while, but eventually, it crashes. And you don't realize you're in chains until the music stops and you find yourself needing more to feel the same. That's not freedom. That's addiction dressed up as freedom. You weren't made to be stimulated. You were made to be known. Deep down, we don't just want excitement, we want meaning. That's why even after the best nights out, there's often a quiet emptiness. You're wondering why the high wore off. But that ache in your soul isn't a failure. It's a signal. It's your heart telling you, there's more than this. You're not weak for wanting joy. You're just settling for counterfeit joy when the real thing is still waiting for you. And this is the part that shifts everything. God's presence doesn't always hit like a rush. Sometimes it sits with you in silence. Sometimes it walks with you through pain, but it never leaves you. And over time, what begins as discipline starts to turn into delight. You stop reading the Bible to check a box and start craving it because your soul gets fed. You stop praying because you should and start doing it because it's the only time in your day where you feel truly seen. I want to say something that might sound strange. It's okay if you don't feel on fire for God yet. Growth is messy. Spiritual hunger doesn't always look like goosebumps. Sometimes it looks like sitting in confusion, choosing God even when he feels distant. That, my friend, is faith. That is where real transformation begins. That's where the Holy Spirit does his deepest work, not when you feel strong, but when you stay while feeling weak. So the real question isn't, why does the world feel better? The real question is, have I tasted God deeply enough to compare? Because once you really encounter him, not just religion, not just rules, not just hype, but him, that question begins to fade. You'll still have temptations. You'll still feel drawn to the world. But you'll start to realize that peace in the presence of God, even in silence, is more powerful than any night that ends in regret. Let's go back to the comment. I feel bounded by rules and limitations. What I have to offer is better than having him live within me. That's not just a struggle, it's a mirror. Because almost every believer wrestles with this at some point. There's a part of us that still believes God is holding out on us, that life with him means missing out. But here's the real question. What are we actually missing out on? Because for everything we think we're giving up, what if God is offering something infinitely better? Jesus never said, "Follow me and I'll make your life boring and strict." He said, "Follow me and I will give you rest. I came that you may have life and have it abundantly." Matthew 11:28, John 10:10. But the path to that life doesn't come through comfort. It comes through surrender. And surrender feels like death. Until you realize what you're laying down was never giving you life in the first place. You're not weak for wanting joy, fun, connection. You were designed for those things. But the world sells you knockoffs, experiences that excite you for a moment and exhaust you afterward. Jesus doesn't offer a life free of cost. He offers a life worth the cost. A life where you're not just surviving weekend to weekend. A life where you don't need to impress, escape, or numb out. A life where peace isn't something you chase. It's something that walks with you. And the beautiful truth? God is not looking for people who have it all together. He's not waiting for you to become more holy before he accepts you. He's just looking for people willing to say, "I want you, even if it costs me the world." That's where the journey starts, not with perfection, but with a decision to go deeper, to seek him, not because you're forced to, but because you're finally ready to find what nothing else has been able to give you. There will still be temptation. There will still be days when the world looks shinier and easier. But when you know who walks with you, and when you've tasted the peace of walking in step with the Spirit, you start to see through the illusions. You'll begin to live with a quiet confidence that you're not missing out. You're waking up. And if that's the journey you're on, or want to be on, you're not alone. I've created a space where you can grow with others, ask questions, share struggles, and walk this path in real time. Join my Telegram community today. It's free, it's real, and it's built for people who want more than shallow answers. You don't have to do this alone. Let's walk together.